Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, my topic today is the construction of the Panama Canal. And my challenge is to thoroughly research the topic, and I want you to know that I took this to heart. 2 months ago, I personally went to the Panama Canal, have a certificate to prove it. And today, I'm going to show you that the Panama Canal is not truly a canal. Its current location originally is not in Panama. And if you thought that this sea channel was a straight shot channel between two oceans at sea level, that's not correct either. But first, let's get some historical perspective. Spanish conquistador Balboa left Spain in 1513 and did some exploring and found that there was a shortcut here between the two continents, North America and South America. This was important because it saved a tremendous journey that ships were making around the continent of South America, a 10,000-mile journey that could take 3 weeks for the fastest vessels, and sometimes even a month or more. Charles I of Spain, in 1534, had a cavalier vision. And that was, he said, why don't we just cut a sea-level canal through here so that ships can go back and forth and we won't ever have to make the trip around the Horn. That was a good idea, but not easy to do because between the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea on the Atlantic side, there's the Continental Divide and a big river called the Chagres River. This is 50 miles wide that you have to surmount. 350 years later, the Suez Canal builder, Fernand de Lesseps, decided to step up to the plate through the French Canal Company. In 1880 says, we will do it. He spent $300 million over 24 years at the cost of 20,000 lives and encountered a lot of flooding from the Chagres River, impenetrable swamps and jungles, and as a result, at the end of 24 years, only dug 10 miles of the 50-mile distance. President Theodore Roosevelt saw an opportunity. He offered to buy out the company for $40 million. But he had another problem because the Panama Canal was to be located in this area. It was part of Colombia at that time. And Colombia didn't want a U.S.-controlled canal in their territory. So President Roosevelt encouraged citizens of this area to rebel and form their own country of Panama. When that was done, he offered Panama $10 million plus $250,000 a year for a right to use a 10-mile wide strip. He was feeling pretty heady about this, said, now watch the dirt fly. But he hired civil engineer John F. Stevens, who was later succeeded by Colonel George Washington Goethals of the Corps in 1905 to build the canal. But there was a problem. There was no plan to get through the Continental Divide. They figured it would take at least 35,000 men. They had 130-degree heat to deal with, flooding from the Chagres River, which can go up to 10 times normal, which caused mudslides. And then on top of that, there was malaria and yellow fever disease to contend with. The disease problem was solved providentially by Colonel William Gorgas, who had worked with Dr. Walter Reed in Cuba and found that these illnesses were mosquito-borne. So they went in and sprayed all of the waters around where the canal is to be built. And then the plan. The Chagres River was flooding right in here, and you had the Continental Divide. So what they tried to do, or what they decided to do, is rather ingenious. They blocked off and dammed the Chagres River and made this a huge artificial lake. And then they decided to build a lock system to bring ships up over the Continental Divide. It was a massive plan, but certainly a lot better than digging straight through. You can see the locks here and then the private lake, or the artificial lake, Lake Gatun. This is a dual channel lock. The ships can go either direction or at the same direction. The fresh water from the lake flows through these locks and fills them up. Now, these locks also have metered doors made of riveted steel. They're 65 feet wide, 47 to 82 feet high. The lower door in the Miraflores lock, this is on the Pacific side, weighs 745 tons. But they're hollow, compartmentalized lock gates, And they're perfectly balanced so that they virtually float. And they can be moved by, get this, a 40 horsepower motor. They also put in mechanical mules, locomotives basically, on both sides of the ships to pull them up through these locks. So the water comes down, fresh water comes down through the locks, and as they fill up, the ships go up, and then they're raised to a level of 85 feet above sea level. They couldn't use seawater from the ocean because pumping seawater up from the Pacific, for example, would be prohibitively expensive, and they would just corrode all the steel that is in here. So now let's look and see what the results are. This is the Panama Canal today. You see the Pacific side locks right here, the Atlantic side locks right here. It's really not a canal, it's more of a lake. This is Lake Gatun. And it's not a straight shot, it is more of an S-curve. The country of Panama took ownership of the canal in 1999. It's been in operation for 93 years. Round-the-clock operation started in 1963. Over 1 million ships have gone through the canal since it was constructed. And there are 15,000 transits per year, although the existing canal can handle 27,000 ships. You have to make reservations to go through the canal up to a year in advance by paying a preferential fee. And the tolls bring in about $300 million per year. The highest toll was in 2006, almost $250,000. And the lowest toll was paid, was 36 cents, paid by someone you will recognize, Richard Halliburton. He chose to swim the canal in 1928. He paid 36 cents to do that. The current expansion is underway right now, starting this year. It'll be finished in 2014 to add a third set of locks on both sides. Just adding these locks on both sides is over $5 billion. Getting ships, huge ships, up over the Continental Divide, an engineering miracle that is the Panama Canal.